devolve theater to the people. Someone asked me today about games for actors and non-actors. They said, well, who are actors and who are non-actors? And by actors and non-actors, he means actors in the very traditional sense we think about it. People who are performers and directors, et cetera, et cetera. Non-actors is all the rest of us who truly are actors. We make theater all the time because we do things. We watch things being done, and we watch ourselves watching. That active dimension is what is theater. So if we can take something that is already out there at current, like a newspaper article or a book chapter or anything that's been published or disseminated, and we can explore that through performance, then we take what's common shared knowledge, we question it, and if theater represses about anything, it's about questioning and learning. We tend to think of theater about expressing. We've discovered this, and we know what the character is, and we're going to present this, and we've got this idea. I think theater is about learning, about a tool for discovery. And one of the things that newspaper theater does is use very sort of specific, relatively simple ways of beginning a search. And that search is for what's really going on. So what I'd like to do is very briefly go through these 11 techniques and introduce them. I've got some examples. I've got a long example of something just so you get a sense of what newspaper theater might look like. Then we're going to divide up into groups. Normally, I rate like newspaper articles to see things, but everybody's got a cell phone. We've got way more articles than I can carry in a hand from. And each group will pick an issue about which it wants to make a statement or do some examination, and then use one of the techniques on something you have found through research. Okay, and to be clearer in it. So let's look at these techniques. Everybody have a hand up? We should give one his name like Sonny. So if we're going to expose the ideology of things, then we need to present whatever it is in a different way than it was originally presented. And so often that which appears in media, in social media, in anything written, is ideologically laden. In fact, it always is. But often the ideology is behind. When I started doing what was called political theater, long before most of you were born, that's political theater. We want other theater, real theater, entertainment. As if any theater is not political. As if any theater doesn't contain ideology, a social vision, and a lens and so. So this is a chance to do that, but not looking at theater, looking at anything else that you're involved. So technique number one is the simple reading. Just reading a news item clearly, sincerely, without comment, without commentary, out loud. But when you remove it from the frame of reference that determines meaning, page 2, top of the column, the magazine that comes monthly, the Facebook post from the person you most admire, when you remove it and simply read it, you begin to get insights into what's hidden. Simplest technique. The second technique, and what I particularly enjoy, is the complementary reading. And that's simply adding missing information. So you explore the truth with the yes but facts. So an example that Bilal gives is in character. There was a report on the quality of beef in its restaurants. And it was touted. It's just how incredibly wonderful it was and how carefully the cattle were raised, etc. What was never mentioned was that it was half a month's wages for the average worker in paraphrase to buy a portion of that. Suddenly, the praising of the beef in the country takes on a very different meaning when those other facts are added. So that's complementary reading. And you can do that with bits of research. You can do that with what you already know. The cross reading. When you weave together two or more contradictory texts to raise questions and reveal contradictions. And given that almost every paper online, for example, has an opinion section and has a news section, and you're going to get very different take on exactly the same news from the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, wherever your local papers. Beginning to read those and see how they intersect and how they disagree can explode what seems to be the objective. So we'll all mention reading an article about starvation intersecting with an article from a society page about huge dinner for people. The fourth one is the rhythmical reading, and it's simply changing the rhythm, the style, the way in which something was written from its objective style into a style that has its own context and meaning, and see what happens. So take a politician's speech and sing it to Mary Had a Little Lamb, or Happy Birthday, or she'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Imagine Trump's last speech. Sung to she'll be coming around the mountain. Okay, so the vitriol becomes so apparent when you put it in a different context and a different way of working. The fifth one, and I'm going through these quickly because I want you to have time to do them, to do whichever one you want. The fifth one is the reinforced reading, and that's adding text to push something that's reported, but not necessarily objective. So, what if you're reading a news report about migrant worker exploitation or about ICE raids, and at the same time people are chanting, "Make Great America, love it. Make America great again. America, love it or leave it." And the article is there, and the ideology is absolutely front and center in the stories. Because the article about ICE is going to be simply, they showed up and they did this. And that's not what we do. So we can explore that way. A parallel action is really just acting out. But of course, the way in which you act something out can make a great deal of commentary on what the words are. And none of this has to be very tight or very explicit. So for example, you could read the article about the ICE raid, and two people could act out a dance, and two people could act out a brutal arrest, and see where that article is in the middle and what it does. So everything that you do is digging under or around what the article was in the first place. The historical reading, this one can be really fascinating because you connect something current with something that is parallel in history in different times or places. And you can reveal historical repetition, you can reveal patterns of oppression. So if we took an article about some of the workers that Jasmine works with, just simply reporting on their working conditions, and no articles on that, it's objective, and read a description of a sale at a slave auction. And you begin to have a very different view of how the exploitation of workers, the exploitation of temp workers, and the exploitation of human beings in this country long before it was a country, offer a historical context and an unfortunate continuity of oppression. But we're trying to look at the systems of oppression rather than I mistreated you and so I'm an oppressor and a good guy, then beginning to look at larger context of history becomes real. Improvisation is again an acting out. But this time, you're acting out what happened and what the article says, as opposed to acting out contradictory things. If you act out what an article says, you suddenly go, wait a minute, how could that happen? How could suddenly your actions don't flow from one to the other, or you go, oh, there's a gap there. And it's all these discoveries are made almost accidentally, simply by trying to something. So, again, the parallel action is miming actions which contradict or complement. This is simply miming the story. The language is blogs. I would never tell anybody, oh, let's do the concretion of abstraction. Not the way in which I speak. But if you make the informative visible and concrete, you can, I call blogs, awaken the spectator's sensibility and capacity to absorb the news as something real and concrete. This is where things get as theatrical as you want them to be. And the example that I'm going to give happened at a workshop I took at Kelly, I think we did that time. No, it was before. A group read a report on refugee issues and refugee deaths, and what they did while they were reading was take shoes from bodies where you were there.
But maybe ours was around Maria, the Puerto Rican disaster, when Trump threw the towels at
Oh yeah,
everybody.
no, this was
Yeah, when the shoes came out in that same
they
way.
took people's shoes and started to pound on the floor so that the person reading had to read louder and louder and louder and shout this information over pounding shoes. And when they were done, there was a pile of shoes, which is a direct reference to the pile of shoes that's in the Holocaust Museum in DC. So took something that had nothing directly to do with the article and really drew out the implications, and it was really, it was sort of stunning to see. Text out of context. Read the news in a different context or style or tone so that the audience can see its implications in a new way. So I'll suggest maybe read an obituary as if you were reading a Hollywood runway report on the actors tonight for the Academy Awards. Read the report of the riot as if you were a sportscaster. And style changes can be very revealing. One of the things that Americans have tended to see, and a lot in the EU, but particularly in the US, is forum theater, theater of the oppressed, that is very realistic. And people all love theatrical. Absolutely love it. One, I was at a piece years ago at a conference, like as a festival, and we all took some time to watch our rehearsal. And it was already crazy. We were in blue-face, we were nailing Cupid dolls across, and bleeding blue blood, and everything he suggested made it more theatrical and more powerful. He was dead on right with everything he said. So just simply making things theatrical by the way in which you present them. And finally is one that can be really interesting, well, they all can, but examining a story by including the omitted contexts so that the social situation and the power dynamic is really clear. So presenting a report about a travelogue about how beautiful the Taj Mahal is, but you can leave the Taj Mahal and 2 blocks and be in the midst of the most abject poverty. And putting that beautiful description of the Taj Mahal inside the context.
What distinguishes this from number 2? Complementary reading.
The complementary reading is, it's more a yes but. So the beef is wonderful in Paraguay, yes, but nobody that raises it can afford it. In fact, nobody that raises it earns a living wage. In fact, this kind of insertion, you can take any facts and anything that you think could fit together to reveal. So let me give you a sort of extended example of one that was a combination of a cross-reading and this concretization, and it also had some insertion. We were in a stared room like this, and someone at the top of the room was reading a university mission statement that said, the primary purpose of the University of Wisconsin-Madison is to provide a learning environment in which faculty, staff, and students can discover, examine critically, preserve, and transmit the knowledge, wisdom, and values that will help ensure the survival of this and future generations to include the quality of life for all. The university seeks to help students develop an understanding and appreciation for the complex cultural and physical worlds in which they live and realize their highest potential, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, 3 people were trying to climb the stairs to get to that mission statement. And blocking their way were people reading bills in Wisconsin about removing DEI, about punishing universities that continue to have DEI. The university should not be forcing these students to view the world through a lens of race, gender, or economic class, just to obtain one of these degrees. So reading against their own mission statement, both statements from the same university, and the people trying to climb the stairs were kicked back down by the people reading the statements about DEI. So it's very visual. It contextualized all the statements, and it pointed the fact that the mission statement of the university, at once beautiful and rich and historically fascinating, is now bullshit.
Yeah.
There are no limits. So what I'm going to invite you to do, the only thing I'm going to ask is if the 2 of you are not disabled. Okay, because you both have experience doing it. Groups of 5, and what I invite you to do is see if there's an issue, and I can't imagine people not being pissed off enough about so many things at this very moment. Probably there's 100 issues, not one. But see if there's something you would like to examine, and if there's a particular way you'd like to do it. You know, if you've got a lot of singers and dancers, you want to do a DEI expose or an ice raid as Dancing with the Stars, whatever, however you would like to approach it. And you can take all the time you want, as long as it's under 15 minutes. And then we're going to come back together and show each other what we've done and spend the last few minutes discussing and answering questions to each other. How might this work in your work? What modifications might you want to make to the techniques to make them useful for you in your opinion? So should we count off in groups? Yeah, that's good. 1, 2, 3,
4,
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. All right, so 1s, you can gather here, but you can go out in the hall if you want to work alone. You can go up the stairs. 2s, go over there, and 3 of us go over here, and then you can determine where you want to go, and I'll come out and give you a tip and whatever you want. And 5 is, 4 is going to go up in the seats, and 5 is
Is there anything going on?
No, we don't. Why don't you guys try that? I'm making a mathematical error. I was going to use a 5, and then instead of counting by 3, I count by 5s.
Do you want us to melt?
Yes, so let's melt. So this melted, there's 5. We need, and there's 4 there. One of you go over here, and 2 of you go over there. And that's it. Now we got 5s and 1 6. We're good. Sorry, it's theater, it's not math.
I'm just worried about access to the originally, yeah.
Everything is held in resource. So right, and find something from here and then use a technique or modify a technique from that. It's not exactly. That's what we're saying.
Wow. I can see us doing The choir to like, guide. Since it's given not always procedures, there's so many different pathways for their children. Education is hard. Each one is not access.
The real women, I was probably like trans, all the trans right now, and the real.
Oh, yeah, that was very.
That doesn't happen.
How about this?
Maybe in time, yeah.
Like the article that says red line.
Never over.
So that's about 5 minutes gone.
Interesting, ironic phrases like how January and February have gone by and how good announcement.
And it's true that like,
Just like this is a good
taking away your rights and it's and then this big throw out, you know, like what's in the one that said reverse, you know, it's the like, yeah, like, thrown out. Like by what big one is that?
I mean, it's an issue. If you want to take a boil turn out, that's start.
Oh, you don't need to know, like, it's on shop.
The ink can't flow fast.
You don't care about their dudes.
From the newspaper article, the Athenaeum had long been
So we're doing a 3 or a 2?
outside of the store, one kid heard a shooting outside of the store, and that house being shot 20 times in England. But in the heart of the neighborhood, near the intersection of 65 and 4, you started patches, safe. This one is,
Should we like alternate like a paragraph
And there's much to look forward to in the coming months. It appears that each month will bring exciting surprises from new cocktail spots to culinary takeouts.
When Cynthia started working in our community garden, we were doing a pop-up stand. We noticed that the corner store across the street had no produce whatsoever.
Here is our list of most anticipated restaurant openings in Chicago for 2025.
We're going to be great, because they're not going to be done for another 10 minutes anyway.
I don't know where my clipboard is.
There it is. 5:30 to 7. Yeah, we're in great shape.
Good job, like me. Actually, I haven't even figured out how to use the flash yet.
There's no flash.
Yeah, it comes up. It comes up. I don't know how to get it done. I literally just got this camera like a week ago. Because it was supposed to mother give this to me. But, yeah. There is a way to get it up like that.
It doesn't automatically come up, but it knows it's a low light environment.
Listen, man, I'm still learning this. I just got it like a little more than a week ago.
It's kind of.
But I know the basics. No, this is my first
This year is all
real camera.
January, February. However, there were several significant announcements.
2011, but it still takes good pictures. I haven't heard about it. It's a decent picture. Yeah, that's nice.
It appears that
Yeah, how are they gonna know?
More interesting.
Is they're gonna know that.
Oh, yeah.
Or I can, or we can give a concept. Sure, we can give ourselves a
Looking like
cheer.
people
You just look at them and be like,
Oh, yeah, slide. Yeah.
do we want to?
I didn't know where that was.
Yeah, and that's after,
We're
that's after
ending
you
on
take
a high note.
whatever your version is.
So I've only got.
This year, it's already flown by. January is coming and gone, and it seems February is almost. However, there were several significant announcements.
Well, why is that household experience?
But it feels like each month will bring exciting surprises.
And I'm gonna go one.
So are you gonna get?
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, here's our most anticipated resolution.
RMK Jr. shrugged shoulders at deadly Texas measles outbreak. What'd you expect?
Can we be done in?
Well, reentry guards outbreak by 69.0. Whatever you guys let the rest of us overplay, so our leader is raging lunatic. I'm sure Robert F. Kennedy Jr. though would be next to him and stand more than our Americans help him get right on the deadly growing measles outbreak in Texas as soon as he's on kneecap with the vaccine.
Not the other one.
What? Which has now led to the life of an unvaccinated child by giving the verbal throwing on his shoulder shrug during President Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting this week. There are 2 people who have died, but we're watching it, Kennedy said, with the deep human compassion one expects from a dead-eyed conspiracy theorist with a taste for roadkill and bear company.
In Georgia where. In Georgia,
He says that measles are
what's president? Some tragedies are.
All right, in 1 minute, we're going to show each other what we have. I do not expect a polished, film-ready.
Well, you're gonna get it.
Break my expectations.
So, it goes into like how she.
I say slowly.
We're actually
I should fade out.
exploring and experimenting. We're going to be indulgent and supportive, but from what I looked at, I don't think it's going to be very indulgent. I think it's going to be easy to see how these techniques can be used, especially by people willing to be creative and silly, which is a really important part of the work we do. So who wants to go first?
How should we do it? Are we gonna sit in the audience and watch?
Depends on where, it depends on where the group performing wants us. You guys want to go first? Okay, where do you want
We'll
us?
be in the alleys, we want audience on two sides.
Two sides? Two
So some people join me on this side.
Would it be okay if I filmed you guys?
$5.
I was just going to ask the same thing, Jeff, but if you want to film it, then we can share the.
Media have long and relentlessly crafted a certain narrative about Englewood. 3 shot, 1 fatally, outside Englewood store. 1 killed, 2 hurt in shooting outside Englewood store. Man dies after being shot 20 times in Englewood. But in the heart of the neighborhood, near the intersection of 63rd and Morgan, a different story is growing.
This year has already flown by. January is come and gone, and it seems February is almost over. However, there were several significant announcements.
About 1 in 7 households experience food insecurity or lack of access to an affordable, nutritious diet. An estimate of 47.4 million Americans live in those households.
It appears that each month will bring exciting surprises, from new cocktail spots to elegant steakhouses.
When Seville started working in our community garden, we were doing a pop-up stand. We noticed that the corner store across the street had no produce whatsoever. They had chips, drinks, a lot of juices, cookies, but nothing nutritious or healthy for the community.
Here is our list of the most anticipated restaurants opening in Chicago for 2025.
1 in 3 Chicago families cannot afford the basic cost of living.
1 in 5 Chicago families with children are food insecure. To understand the lived experience of food insecurity in Englewood, we need to turn to the voices of those directly impacted and those doing the work to reclaim their home, those making change and planting seeds at community gardens like the one at 63rd and Morgan.
So very quickly, what techniques did you use? Because I saw more than one.
Thank you.
Complimentary context.
Honestly, we should talk about where they started with a couple of this kind of.
It's fine, that's fine. I just want them to realize there were multiple.
Parallel action,
Yeah.
parallel action, and we had some of the complimentary reading. I feel like there was cross reading with what we were doing.
Yes, exactly.
And improvisation, because the folks were making up their choreography.
So in that short a time, without having a predetermined topic, we had a clear performance that makes commentary about what is touted as this great success of all these new restaurants. And
It's also very important, though, concretization of abstraction.
they did very much so. The movement of food. Wow. These are very rich techniques, especially when people remember. That was great. Give it up. Next group, where do you want us? Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to be there where?
Yeah.
To the audience?
You want us off stage?
This is
RFK Jr. shrugs shoulders at deadly Texas measles outbreak. What'd you expect? What'd you expect? Kennedy is welcome to treat viral outbreaks by sticking a pickle in his ear or whatever he does, but for the rest of us, it'd be nice if our health star wasn't a raging lunatic. What'd you expect? Sure, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the noted vaccine skeptic and snake oil salesman, now in charge of Americans' health, will get right on the deadly and growing measles outbreak in Texas as soon as he's done kneecapping a few vaccines.
What do you expect?
Kennedy showed his deep empathy and concern for the Texas outbreak, which has now claimed the life of an unvaccinated child by giving the verbal form of a shoulder shrug during President Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting this week. What do you expect? There are 2 people who have died before watching it, Kennedy said. What do you expect? Apparently he's not watching it too closely. Texas health officials say only 1 person has died, a child in Lubbock, the first child to die from measles in 22 years. But hey, 1 death, 2 deaths, who's really counting? What do you expect?
So, multiple techniques again. All right, I love the use of repetition and the humor that goes with it. At the same time, you're talking about how many people died. If you can get an audience laughing and punching in the stomach, sometimes you've got a great deal. And it didn't require, neither of these scenes required anyone to really have a performance background, to feel comfortable as an actor. Except for our performance companies, we never work with actors in film. So you can see how the techniques invite people to be theater. So let's do the next one.
We're gonna do it right there, guys. If you want me to put your spots with us. Thank you. Yeah, right. Great. Yeah. And then on these ones. Maybe switch to horizontal. Oh, good idea. Ready? Yes. 1, 2, 3. Hi, Senator from Minnesota would like to ask a question to the Justice Klobuchar. Do you believe that the Roe v. Wade is a super precedent?
Justice Coney Barrett here. I define super precedent as cases that are so well settled that no political actors and no people seriously push for their overruling. And I'm answering a lot of questions about Roe, which I think indicates that Roe doesn't fall in that category.
Some tragedies are impossible to prevent or even predict. The death of Amber Noel Thurman was not. She was perhaps the first woman killed by the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Justice Coney Barrett, will you overturn Roe v. Wade as a super precedent?
Roe is not a super precedent because calls for its overruling have never ceased. But that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled. It just means that it doesn't fall in the small handful of cases that no one questions anymore. Sing it! Real women vote for Trump. We don't need no liberal chump. Real women vote for Trump. We don't need no liberal chump.
In June 2022, the Supreme Court ruling in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization removed the constitutional right to an abortion guaranteed by Roe. As a result, individual states reverted to their own laws. In Georgia, where Thurman lived, abortion became illegal from the time when a detectable human heartbeat was present, around 6 weeks into pregnancy. The law late July of that year, at the same time that Thurman, a 28-year-old medical assistant, discovered she was 6 weeks pregnant with twins. Thanks to ProPublica, which obtained Thurman's medical records and her family's permission, we can see what happened next. She already had a 6-year-old son and decided that she could not raise 2 more children, but she couldn't get a termination in her home state, and she scheduled a surgical abortion in North Carolina.
Wow. That is pretty stunning.
We needed time for the choreo, but it's fine. Okay, thank you.
You were off.
I know, y'all did it.
Do you want to hear the song again?
Oh, my algorithm is so fucked.
The interesting thing, though, is that it works anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and watching the choreography fall apart and the faces change,
Yeah.
and even the attempt to stay together
Oh, that's interesting.
begin to disintegrate.
Wow. Yeah, that was intentional, for sure.
That's one of the things about literature,
Yeah.
is that it's human beings are story-making creatures. Everything we see, we're going to make a story out of. And everything we do has an intention, and every way in which we look at things is an intention, whether it's conscious or not. And as I said before, it's the negotiation of meaning that creates so much richness. One of the things that people have asked me about is laughter. And I mentioned it before. But again, we have laughter as describing a death. There's 2 different kinds of laughter in this work, maybe 3. One is laughing at things that are absurd and fun, as we have been. The other is the kind of laughter that is a sort of nervous recognition response. And the third kind of laughter, and it's the one I don't think we consider often enough as activists, is the laughter because of the joy of doing the work. And it's that laughter that techniques like this can make easier, because the work to get from, I have something here, I know it's fucked up, I get to present it, is not so onerous. It is not, you don't have to beat yourself up. I've done plays with Bilal where we beat ourselves, really beat ourselves up to present something that was incredibly difficult. But that was us. We were at a conference. We expected 3 days of doing something like that. But if you're working with a small group, or you've brought a community group together, and you want them to feel that they can speak to an issue, and they can be performative, or they can break out of their shell, this technique is pretty easy to use. And it is, I don't believe in safe spaces. I think safe spaces are basically conservative spaces where nothing can be discussed. I believe in brave spaces, where people can make mistakes and people are going to take risks. And, but yet, this kind of work can make people new to the work feel a certain sense of safety. I can do this, it's other people's words, right? It's not, I didn't have to dig, yes, I'm pissed off about this, now I get to say I'm pissed off. But at the same time, I also get to be insulated one little step from having to reveal. And then the next step can be a lot easier to take. When I'm going to use newspaper theater, I try to do some more pure image work first. People are making sculptures out of their own bodies for a variety of reasons. The piece that I think leads into this incredibly well, because it uses no language and lots of story, is a technique called complete the image, which we can easily demonstrate. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, but we'll skip some of the middle pieces. I need to know. One, two. Okay. If you guys would just walk to the center of the circle and shake hands and freeze. What do you see? You can move around.
Smiling.
You see what?
Smiling.
Smiling.
There's something under that smile.
Anything else?
Shoulders squared up.
Shoulders squared on both of them?
One person is leaning forward, the other person is pulling back.
Okay, so there's some leaning and pulling. You guys are very, very good at the observation part. Kids won't be, people with less experience won't be. They're gonna jump right to, they're happy, they're angry, they're, all right? And it's nice if you have lots of time to go back to the observation. What is it that you see that's saying happy, etc. I'm gonna jump ahead because of time and because of where you guys all are. What's happening? Tell me the story about what you see.
Two friends meeting.
There what?
Two friends meeting.
Two friends meeting where?
Outside, somewhere neutral.
Somewhere neutral. Have they seen each other in a long time? Is this, were they expecting each other? Is it a surprise meeting?
Almost.
What is it?
Making up.
Making up.
Ooh, you think they're strange?
I think they're strange, and I think it's more professional.
Okay,
Okay, I would see that.
what kind of professional relationship?
In whatever the profession, they don't know each other, and they're not close enough to hug.
Were they in a conference meeting each other?
They could be, yes.
I think it's a negotiation.
For?
Something in their personal lives that they decided they kind of have to mitigate and don't want to mitigate the same way.
Here, this one's a little more reserved.
And there's like something about it that's like not totally sincere, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and listening to what you said, and I'm thinking, it's an end of a job interview.
Oh, shit, yes. That makes sense.
Who's doing the interview?
Oh,
She's pulling back.
I don't know, but there's something like, there's like trepidation in her face, whereas like Denise has a really intense like stare right now.
That's
Is somebody getting a job or not?
I don't think so.
But I think they are like something happened in their personal lives, and this was a job interview, and like this person has all the cards about this
So
person.
look at all of this stuff that we invented. Can you freeze? Can you step up? Very quickly, what's going on now?
She's rehearsing in the mirror.
Rehearsing in the mirror.
She's looking out the window, waiting for someone to return.
Well, you guys are so poetic. I thought you were dancing the call.
Drop your coffee mug.
So I'm going to invite anybody who wants to come back in and complete this image. You can do anything except shake hands. We could certainly tell a story about this. All right, but to move it, Jasmine, would you step out? Anybody who wants, step in and complete this image. It can be realistic, it can be exaggerated, it can be whatever you want to be. Step out. Yep, you step out. faces become involved right away in eye expression. Step out there. Okay, huge changes in emotion and
Yeah, step out.
wonderful. Let's stop it there. You see how we want to make stories and we want to see stories. This particular game, especially if you're playing with young people, you have to be ready to have control because the easiest thing for action and response is violence. My advice is to any teachers in the room say, just let it go for a minute. Because teachers don't want to stop violence right away.
Yeah.
They'll get bored. They'll find other things. But the rapid movement from feeling good to anger, from very public moments to a whisper, a very private moment, that kind of rapid changes and being able to make a story without having to be an actor, without having to justify yourself, opens things up. I work with incarcerated teens. This activity is always the one that explodes it into the second way. I also, to be perfectly honest, make sure that I get in a decent picture. Because then, I have a workshop part of this, but then I'm silly. Okay? So, and that opens things up too. Once you're willing to be silly, willing to play foolish games with the other attendees, that opens up a lot. You can't, that professional guard, whereas Kevin is not in here. That professional guard can be, can keep a distance and limit the scope. So, do you all have any questions? We can sit down if you want. Any questions about the techniques? Any ideas where you might be in situations where you know that you could use something like newspaper theater and share it with us so that we can think about times we might use it? Yes. Yeah. Are there any times in your work or time? It's a great teaching tool.
I
use it in class.
I do a lot of device theater with people who I don't speak the same language as, and different newspaper techniques are helpful because we can sort of pull out big ideas or like big themes. People can improvise what they think is happening even though they don't understand what's going on, and then we can also have sources in multiple languages. So some of what's being spoken is indiscernible, but then some of it is really clear, and like playing with what you understand and what you don't.
That's
Nice.
great.
I've been dying to do it on the train platform in downtown Chicago because then you have like a captive audience for a minute, you know, for a moment while they're waiting. We were going to do that this summer, but we won't be doing that because it doesn't feel safe, you know, to expose the group right now. But I think that would be really very cool way to use this because you need a captive audience for just at least a moment, right? It doesn't have to be a whole show of newspaper theater. And the reason newspaper theater was born was because they couldn't perform in professional theater, so they were doing it in the street to get regular people to like dialogue about bullshit that was in the newspaper. So I wanted to do it that way. And I think I would encourage anyone to do it, then film it and share it with us.
Yeah, I think it would work very well that way. I personally have some ethical dilemmas about doing visible theater, which is theater that's being done and no one knows it's going on. And people responded. I have some difficulties with that idea. I know where it was developed and why it was used, and we'll all use it. But this, is so obviously
Performance, yeah.
and I like that. Do any of you work in a group where there may be a shared concern in the group, but not necessarily artists or people with any arts or performance experience? So this is a technique that can open up, in groups like that, there tend to be, you know, if there's 20 people, there are 4 of them that dominate all the conversation, and the ideas, and every once in a while somebody, and here you can get 20 people all contributing at once in a single evening. And it's a great way to open up, particularly if the dialogues are very different. We do a lot of anti-racism work with a couple of groups, and those are hard topics. It brutalizes everybody in the room sometimes. And to do newspaper theater is a way of opening up. And then I can say things that are, whoever's in the room can say some things that are very difficult to say out loud because they can read something and start a conversation.
I brought up a devil's advocate question, and I'd kind of like to hear Jasmine or anyone else who's used this work's take on it, of how do we make sure this kind of work doesn't devolve into there's one arrogant right way of thinking and everybody else is dumb because they don't believe in this. Like, how do we use it as a technique to open up complexity and see multiple points of view rather than just an obvious, like there could be an aversion, even if I agree with what the thing is, but something feels didactic, like it feels like it's telling you how you should think. So I'm curious if you've ever experienced that and known how to facilitate around that.
We do only have one minute.
A follow-up question, did anybody think it happened in any of these?
I just think I would love to have done art scene in a group in the red state with a conservative audience. I would like to have a conversation after that because I think that there would be a lot of things to talk about in the process. So I think if it was done in an arrogant way and there was no conversation, no opportunity for processing, then I think it could come off as didactic. But I actually was like, man, I wish I could go to my aunt's church and do this in South Carolina. I wanted but then in a space with the expectation to share and dialogue about it, right?
I would also argue that it's only obvious if it's obvious to you. And to somebody else watching the piece, it might have a different message. And some opposing things that we see as like shining a light on one topic might be seen as being more in conversation with one another, depending on how you're doing it.
I think the restaurant scene did just that. It presents factual information.
Yeah.
You can't argue with the facts on either side. Restaurants are opening, people are thrilled about it. People have food insecurity. And there they are, pressing up against each other. Wait a minute, there's restaurants opening for people who spend $200 on dinner, and someone right 3 feet from them can't get food. There's something wrong with that. What's the right answer? I don't know. But there's something wrong with that. And once you point those kinds of things out, then the ability of people to discuss what is it we would do to bring these two ironically juxtaposed things into a balanced place in our world. Again, it's if you point out something as a right and then open up the question, then I think I'd be less concerned about it.
It reminds me of when you would do the don't walk, don't jump, like the opposite of the action.
Stop, say your name.
And if you'd have only done that and not debriefed it, it would actually be potentially damaging.
Yes.
And so that made, when you said that, I was like, oh, right, it has to, the whole completion is the unpacking it.
Yeah. You have to have reflection and then critical conversation and open it up without saying what it was about.
Yeah.
Ask me what did you experience? What was it like for you? What did that mean to you? Or what did like or not like about that, and then allow everyone to have that space to say their frustrations or their dislike or their whatever.
That's why I like completely images way into it, because people already know then they're gonna be asked, what did you see? What did you see? What might it have been? What is it not? The other thing is that those two exercises allow for full body exploration and activity, and at the same time, let people who are not comfortable readers know this is not the word, just because it's in ink or on your screen, it is not the absolute best word, and you don't have to take what you read in any one place or in multiple places.
What's the name of our last activity?
Complete the image. Complete the image. And it's all in I'm going to take one more second if you indulge me. The PTO conference, Pedagogy and Theater, the press conference is going to be in Omaha, Nebraska. I think the pre-conference workshop that Julian Wallace is doing is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that first week. Is it the 4th and 5th, or the 2nd, whatever it is. On that Thursday, I'm giving
June 5th or June 6th.
yeah, somewhere in there. And on that Thursday, I'm giving a 3.5-hour introduction to theater of the arts. It's a pre-conference workshop, and then the conference follows. It's going to be at the University of West Omaha in the Community Cultural Center. It looks like rooms in the room are going to be $40 a piece. For a single room, there'll be 4 singles with a shared bathroom here in the center. And there's also a hotel block. And it's the moment that we who believe in liberatory theater education are going to be able to stand together for the first time since the Trump administration came to power and speak to each other and speak with our multiple voices for all the ways it was. So I urge you to come. Jasmine will be there.
Yes.
I'll be there. And just go to ptoweb.org and you can get all the information and register. Thank you so much.
We have an audience, as you can hear, waiting to come into this room. If we can clear the space a little bit. Thank you again, Mark.
Yeah, let me
for this conversation.
Hey y'all, Nick took the words right out of my mouth. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. And next up we have the reading of Pangea by Carson Becker. We are hoping to kind of clear the space for half a second so that the actors can come in and get settled. So if you can just slowly grab your stuff, start filtering out.
What do you want us to do with the chairs?
The chairs, leave the chairs, we'll take care of those. Yeah. Thank you. And cool.
So you really want the space clear?
Yeah.
People out of the space.
Apparently there's an army outside.
So should we save our seats?
If you want, yeah. Actually, if you want to save your seat, please go ahead. That's okay. Leave your bag.
All the whips who had food. Those of us who know how to
Sorry.
There are snacks on the table. They are for social circle. So, you know, I am giving of what I have. And if you're making that plenty, that is plenty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the workshop.
into positions